Hey everybody! In today's video I'm going to be trying out Pixiss Diamond Resin. One of my viewers asked me to give this a shot. I hadn't even heard of it. In all fairness, there's so many resins I haven't heard about. It feels like a new one's popping up every day. But yeah, I went ahead and ordered this. The price was pretty decent, and that's really what I'm trying to do lately is try and find some good, more inexpensive resins. And this was $18 for a 17-ounce kit, so that's pretty reasonable in my opinion. I got it on Amazon. I'll make sure to leave the links for this and all the other relevant stuff I'll be using in the description area below. But also, okay, so before I jump into this video, I want to ask my viewers a question. I've been meaning to do this for like the past 3 videos and I always forget. What's a song that you've been listening to lately that you like? Or like what kind of music have you been getting into lately? I'm trying to broaden my horizons and I figured I have a bunch of people I could ask. So just kind of drop that in the comment area below if you would like to. I listen to everything. I listen to literally everything. So yeah. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dig into all of this. So we'll just start by reading what's on the box itself. Self-leveling, non-toxic, odorless, 1-to-1 ratio, high gloss. BPA free, no VOCs, those are volatile organic compounds. ROHS compliant, I don't know what that is. So on the back we have the instructions, which are also on the bottles, so I'll go ahead and just take those out right now. Okay. It didn't come with a paper insert with the instructions, it's just what's written on the bottle. Instructions: wear protective gloves. I have those. I also have a respirator. I use it off camera. I don't use it on camera because I will sound like Darth Vader trying to talk through it. It is a half mask respirator with organic vapor cartridges. If you would like to get a respirator or use one, I'll leave the link for information about this type of stuff in the description area below. So we're going to measure equal parts of the resin and the hardener since it is a 1-to-1 ratio. Stir each part. Pour each part together and stir 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, that's weird. When I was looking at the box, I saw that. So they want me to, I'm gonna measure it in different cups, so fair enough. They, measure A and B, but they want me to stir it before I put it together and stir it, which I don't wanna do, but since it's on the directions, I'm gonna do it. All right, so we're gonna stir each part, pour each part together, stir 3 to 5 minutes, add pigment if desired. Okay, use soap and water to clean up. 30-minute work time, 24-hour cure time. They have a Facebook and you can look online. Their website's kind of basic though, to be honest. There's not really a lot more information about the product on there. So yeah, you can go to pixiss.com, but there's not much there. It needs to be like more fleshed out, the website does. So I kind of just want to break down my first impressions of it before I start working with it. One thing that I really appreciate was that it comes with these squeeze bottle kind of tops that make measuring the resin a lot easier. In my other videos, I will usually take resin bottles and I'll put squeeze tops that I bought from other places onto them. It makes measuring so much easier. But yeah, these just come with these great tops, so I appreciate that right off the bat. So this is the hardener and this is the resin. The hardener is quite thin. I do appreciate that. You can heat up the resin or the hardener in warm water to make it thinner. I don't do that unless the instructions tell me to. These instructions did not tell me to, so I won't. But yeah, the hardener's pretty thin. The resin's all right. The resin it's pretty thin as well. It's on the lower viscosity side. So that's a good thing. That hopefully will mean that there are fewer bubbles in our finished product, but I don't know. We're gonna have to see what happens. So I have my 1-ounce measuring cups marked off. I'm gonna do 20 milliliters of the resin and I'm gonna do 20 milliliters of the hardener, and I'm gonna stir it with a plastic knife. And there's a really interesting reason why I'm going to, and it pertains to this. This is just a cup we're gonna pour these into and continue stirring with. So one of my viewers told me that if you mix with a wooden stick, then air will release from the wood stick into the resin. And I was like, no way. And she was like, yeah, it's totally a thing. So I did a test. I took some resin. This was liquid resin at one point and is now hardened. And I put it in a vacuum chamber and I sucked out all of the bubbles. So after all of the bubbles were out, I took a wood stick and I stuck it in there because that way I would be able to see how much air actually comes from the wood stick. So did the thing, I put the resin in the vacuum chamber, got the bubbles out, put the wood stick in there, and bubbles totally came out of it. It was only about 15 and they ended up rising to the surface on their own and popping. But yeah, air totally came out of the stick and put the bubbles into the resin. I'm gonna start using a knife, just plastic. It had the teeth and I just filed them down. I wanted to make it closer to a popsicle stick or a wood stick since I'm so used to using those. I will continue using them off camera because I have a vacuum chamber. I can get all the bubbles out, but yeah. In my videos on camera now, I'm going to be using plastic to stir the resin. So like I said earlier, I have my 1 ounce cups marked off at the 20 milliliter mark. So I'm gonna start with my side A, and I'm gonna start to pour it into my cup. All right, that's at the 20 milliliter mark. So now I'm gonna take my other cup, I'm gonna take the hardener, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay, now I'm gonna get ready to stir them both individually and then mix them together and stir. So far I am noticing that it is odorless, like the box said that it would be. I haven't mixed them together yet, so I don't know how that's going to play out, but as of right now I would agree that there's no odor. Now I'm just going to go in with the knife and stir the other side real quick. And now I'm going to pour both of these into this one container and I'm going to stir them together. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and start to slowly mix up my product to get it fully incorporated. The directions said 3 to 5 minutes, so yeah, we'll aim for that. Now that they're mixed together, there still is no odor that I'm picking up on, so that's a good thing if you have smell sensitivities. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes and I feel like the resin's fully incorporated, it's fully mixed. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this clear resin and I'm gonna pour it into this disc mold, and I'm gonna do varying thicknesses. I'm gonna pour a thin piece in here, a thicker one in here, a thicker one in here, and an even thicker one in here. And then we're gonna pop them out of the mold when they're hardened, see how the hardness is, if it could be dented with a nail. And then I'm gonna take some of these pieces and I'm gonna put them out in the sun to gauge their yellow resistance, because that's always what makes or breaks a product for me, is how well it does in high sun conditions and UV conditions. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna pour my thinnest piece in here. I'm gonna pour a thicker one here. A thicker one here. Oops, okay. So maybe this is going to be the thickest one. So I'm going to put these aside. I'm going to check on them in 24 hours. I believe the cure time was supposed to be, yeah, 24-hour cure time. So we'll come back in 24 hours to see how these are doing. I'm gonna mix up some more resin off camera and I'm going to gauge the pot life. It says that there's a 30-minute work time, so I'll see if that is accurate. Yeah, so I will see you in 24 hours with more information about all of this. Oh, let me take a torch real quick. I'm gonna sweep it across the top of my pieces to get rid of those bubbles on the surface. All right, so yeah, I will see you in 24 hours. I'm back. It's been about 48 hours. I checked these pieces at 24 hours and they were still very dentable. So yeah, I gave them another day to finish curing. You're gonna have to excuse the glove on my hand. I can handle these pieces without it at this point. It's just I did some yard work yesterday and I scraped my knuckles up kind of bad, so I'm just hiding that. Yeah. So we can go ahead and start to pop these pieces out. So on this side, these are the ones that we worked on together. This is some stuff I did off camera. I tested the pot life, which ended up being about 37 minutes. So the bottle said that it would be about 30 minutes, so I got a few more minutes than that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pop that piece out actually. I mixed in some red glitter. It suspended it really well, but it was very thick at that point. I caught it right before the pot life was over. But yeah, I feel like it's pretty dispersed in there. It stayed in place really well. It didn't sink. So if you would like to use glitter in the product, I think that you can. You just have to wait until it thickens up a lot. So these are the pieces we worked on together. I'm gonna go ahead and pop them out. Okay, so this is the thinnest piece. That's what that's looking like. There's a pretty good amount of bubbles in there. I was hoping that there would be fewer since it's a thinner product, but yeah, it's not terrible, but there's definitely some micro bubbles. Okay, so this is the slightly thicker piece, and I'm sure you see it has some little dent marks in it, and that was, I was monitoring how quickly it was setting up, and after about 3 hours, I would say, I would dent it with the toothpick, and I feel like it was firm enough to hold another layer. So if you're doing a piece where you build layers, you can start to put the next layer on it pretty quickly, so that's always a plus. It was not self-healing at that point, and that's why those little pock marks are in there. So with a thicker piece, that's definitely a lot of micro bubbles. It probably would have been better if I'd heated it up, but like I said, I don't like to heat up the resin or the hardener unless the company specifically says so. So here is a slightly thicker piece. And here's the thickest piece. And as expected, there's a lot of bubbles in it. So with this over here, and even this piece I tested the pot life with, I didn't do the thing where I measured them in separate containers and then stirred it. I still think that's weird, like stirred it before mixing them together, you know? I don't think that's necessary, and I don't understand why it was suggested, but all right. So here are the pieces. They're about similar thickness. This is the piece that I did not do the separate mixing and what have you, and I can dent it with the nail a little bit, but it's not bad. But it's the same amount for the piece that I did all the weird instructions with. I can dent it with a nail a little bit, but it's not bad. So what's going to happen next for these pieces that we just made is I'm going to do the yellowing test. And the yellowing test is straightforward. These pieces are going to go out in the sun, and I'm going to see how they perform over time. And on that note, I can give a little update on the recent yellowing test I've done with KS Resin, which was my last review I did. These are some pieces I made in my KS Resin demo and review video. So I had two different KS formulas. I got the Ultra UV, which is just their coating resin with a higher amount of UV resistance than their other products. And then this was their same kind of coating resin that did not have the extra UV resistance. And this is Super Sap CCR. This is my go-to resin. It is one of the most non-yellowing resins I have come across. It used to be the most non-yellowing, but I think, or yellow resistant rather. But the KS resin with the higher UV resistance, it's doing better. It's outperforming it. I cannot even believe how clear that still is. I put it out there on 7/29. It is now, I think, August 21st. Gosh, I don't even know. Quarantine's got my mind scrambled. I don't know what the date is at this point. So yeah, this is what it looks like after being in the sun for that long. There is no yellow. Like, there's no yellowing as far as I could tell. Super Sap is doing really well, but not as well as the KS. The KS resin that did not have the yellow inhibitor is definitely faring worse than the other ones. If you're going to get their coating resin, I suggest you pay the extra money for the product that has the more UV resistance. But yeah, what I'm going to do is we're going to put them out in the sun. We're going to see how they perform, and then in an upcoming video, I will let you know how that goes. But the KS resin, I can't dent, it's harder to dent than it was before. I waited a few days even to finish the thoughts about the hardness in the KS resin review, and yeah, I feel like it's gotten harder since then. Maybe that will happen with these. I'll make sure to leave in the next video I'll leave the update about all of that and how it's playing out. So final thoughts. A lot of micro bubbles. I was hoping there would be fewer. There wasn't. That's fine. It could be a little bit harder. Maybe it will be. It was odorless. It was cheap. If those are the types of things you're looking for, then yeah, I would say that this is an okay product so far. It's the yellow resistance that's really going to make or break it for me. So I guess that covers everything I wanted to cover. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the appropriate area below. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.